Yeah, a lot of times I have problems getting especially for overhead pressing, getting my shoulders up.
Yeah, it's all these ribs got to go down in order for you to bring your arms up. There we go. All right. The patient just told me right at the beginning, I got pain here, injured joint. I'm not allowed, this is the problem, is the area above and below.
Right.
So my job is to loosen up the joint below. It's not moving. This right SI joint gave me nothing when I put him on his side. You have your hand right on his butt. Correct, that's where the SI joint is.
So a lot of my stuff comes from lifting. I do a lot of like powerlifting, strongman type stuff. So my hip, I have a lot of. I don't know if my right leg shortens up or is shorter, but my hips will tend to go out.
Got it.
And then it causes a lot of knee pain. And then I favor this knee, so then this knee goes out.
So if you look in the mirror, you go see like your torso's off to the side?
Yes,
Okay.
quite a bit.
How often is that you notice that?
It's constant.
Okay.
Even when I go to the chiropractor, I get maybe 48 hours, and then it's right back. And even with inversion tables and stuff, trying to help that, and a lot of foam rolling and stretching.
I'm going to give you the diagnosis in a second. What are they telling you is the reason for why, let's just call it torso or translation. What's the explanation being given to you?
A lot of it is usually for muscle imbalances.
Okay.
Having, for it being out of whack for a certain period of time, other muscles take over. So just the strength of the instability in the.
I'm going to give you
Okay.
my head's real big.
Right.
I'll give you the right answer. So the shifts are happening because of pressure on nerves. There's disc injury. When you have disc injury, or even at the very least joint injury, your body will shift or tilt and lean to get those holes open.
Yeah.
So if I tilt, for instance, to the left, the hole on the right gets bigger. Do you see that?
I got you.
Right. So your body will, if I have pain over here, there we go.
Right.
So you look in the mirror and you're like, why am I all off to the side? Well, that's antalgia. We call it anta away from algia pain. There's something that's not right.
Right.
And you're right, muscles will be spasmed, and then you'll actually have muscular injury over time. If you hold yourself in an aberrant posture, it'll create muscular problems.
Right.
But that's just a symptom of the deeper problem, which is you have the very least a joint injury, right? So that's what you'll see hip heights. Hip heights are all,
Yeah.
if I injure the joint on my right lower back, my left hip will come up to alleviate. Right, if I break my right leg, I'll shift my weight to my left side. That's just a compensation to something being damaged. And lower back on the right, so those, and then the shoulders, knee.
So a lot of that is, so if I'm standing there and, kind of just go into a little bit of flexion, you can feel it here. It's like there's something there stopping it. It doesn't want to go. And then, sometimes I just kind of force it a little bit, and I do feel things pop and whatnot, but it just, you can feel it. I don't know if it's like inflamed.
One finger as best you can, point to where you're feeling it.
So it's all right here, really.
More,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
These are the knuckles. These are the joints. And when you say flex, you mean like kind of bending forward a little bit?
Flexion, the opposite way.
Extension.
Extension.
It's okay. So when you extend, which means we're bending backwards, you're compressing that joint.
Right.
The joints look like little handshakes. So I'm going to just pick on this guy here. So they look like two surfaces gliding over each other, and that it's called a synovial joint capsule. There's a lot of nerve endings in there, and so typically what will happen is if you injure that joint, mainly how do you injure one joint? Well, probably because other joints weren't working. So everybody kind of focuses on the injured joint. I'm the guy who wants to work on, well, maybe it's because all these guys are stiff, and that's why we sprained it. But take that out of the equation. When a joint gets injured, your body will bend forward to open it up and depressurize it. It'll also get swollen, which is also what's making it open up and bend forward.
Right.
And then when you're going into extension, you're compressing that joint capsule, which is like, oh, something's not right in there. I've got an injured joint in there. And the joint itself replaces. It's not a lot of feeling in the joint, but they really don't do much surgery on the joint. What ends up getting surgery a lot of times is these discs that If the weight isn't on the joint where it's supposed to be, and if you bend forward to alleviate pressure on the joint, you'll compress the disc gets dehydrated, herniates, and then that's what is going to start seeing that shifting. And I asked you off camera for a second ago if they've talked to you about the lordosis, and you were like, not really.
Yeah.
That is what keeps the disc from being injured. We're supposed to have these lumbar curve, cervical curve.
Right.
And this is why I don't like inversion so much, even though it might feel good to invert. The problem is you end up pulling the spine straight, which is what we call ortho. It doesn't belong straight, it belongs arched. And so it's not aiming the spine into the right direction, right?
Gotcha.
So it's long term this is why we have lumbar support in our vehicles and cervical support in our pillows.
Yeah.
Right? What the heck are we supporting? It's not supposed to be ortho.
Right.
It's supposed to be curved. We develop the curve in the first year of life, and so we're trying to bring you back to what we call the ideal spine. And somebody online might say, well, you're treating him similar to other people. Correct, because I don't treat symptoms.
Right.
Even though I'm going to help you with your symptoms today, I treat posture. So if we get the posture into what we call the ideal position, if I aim where your posture is towards where it's supposed to be, the symptoms all dissolve. Those are just the carrots that we keep chasing. You said ringing in the ears. How often is that going to go on?
Every once in a while, just the right ear,
Okay.
it'll just be like
Comes out of nowhere.
yeah, just start ringing, and it's like, okay, and then it kind of goes away, but
Okay. A lot of that can be the upper neck, the middle ear all drains down the neck, the
Yeah.
nerves that can be inflamed in there. And so to me, that's an upper neck imbalance, neck inflammation that can cause that. You also have neck pain you've been dealing with for a couple of years. How long?
yeah.
Okay, right there for me. Okay. Even you can pretty see here, Carl. His shirt wants to stay closer on his left, right? So if your shirt comes closer to you on the left because I'm exaggerating, but that shoulder wants to be elevated.
Yeah.
The shirt's kind of sliding down. Left hip's a little high. Sorry. He's got probably a little bit of laterality. Not too much. I have a lateral curve scoliosis in my spine, so he might have a little bit of, what'll happen is the musculature will be all lifted up more on one side. We'll notice that more when we go face down. I don't, like my ribs, my left,
Yeah.
this sticks out more on, I don't really see maybe a little bit, but with x-rays, it's a tricky game because if you're not completely straight with the x-ray,
Right.
like if you're just even rotated a little bit,
Yeah.
you'll create a scoliosis, so that's why I always go for MRI.
Yeah,
'Cause
well,
MRI
when they had me do it, it was like stand against the wall and you're standing there, and
I know, I have an x-ray machine, I know all the tricks,
Yeah.
and so we have MRIs now, and so MRIs take out all the guesswork.
Yep.
This is an actual picture of you. X-ray, you're looking at shadows. I'm shining a light at this, and I'm looking at the wall describing this. It's an artifact of something.
Right.
MRI is actually what you are. It's looking at the water composition of your body, and so water has a polarity, and so the machine can measure that polarity as the magnet moves around your body. But I don't think you have what I have, which is what we call structural scoliosis. What I'm seeing right now is, and I got joint injury, and so you create, does that make sense?
yeah, you create the imbalance.
You create a scoliosis, let's call it, because I got pain here.
Yeah.
I got pain on my right side of my back, and this typically hurts because this up here on the left middle is stiff.
I gotcha.
So left middle injury causes you to tilt to the right, you abuse this because you're in left avoidance, and then ultimately because of that lumbar curve not being there.
Right.
Take one deep breath in for me, we'll sit up, and then we'll just let the jaw relax, exhale, perfect. There we go, deep breath in for me, head back for me, let it go, here we go, already moving. Beautiful, deep breath in, one more, exhale, chin down. Good, all right, take a deep breath in, and then exhale, I got you. Here we go. Exhale. Oh yeah, it's a little tight there. It's okay, how's that for me? Take a deep breath in, exhale. Okay, good. Yeah, interesting. That right hip is locked. Face up, okay. If it feels like I feel like I'm on that right hip, felt like I was jumping on a trampoline. I was like springing off of it. It's all right. Side's all blown out over here. Everything's on the right, like a tilt head left. That's where that left shoulder was elevated. So when I feel your neck and your head straight with your torso, all the bones are shifted over to the right, like as if your head was tilted left, even though it's not.
Right.
And so it's like when you're, best analogy is the bicycle. You know, if your bicycle crash it and your handlebars have to be crooked to get your tire straight, I want the handlebars and the tire aligned together. There you go, perfect. There you go, I got you. Mm-hmm. There we go, let this side. There you go, very good. Feel these lumps appear. I don't know how you would describe it. They're not supposed to, you weren't born with that. And I'm going to show you on the left side, there isn't that. That's an injury.
Right.
You're saying that's a tear. You whiplash, a fall, a football injury, whatever. You know, we're going to go through high school. Right. Something happened that, oh yeah, Ed, some guy ran into me and nailed me and bam. And he got injured on the right side. And so your head was like, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm all better. But it wasn't really all better. Has anybody showed you this knot here? No?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, it's like you're bringing your car to an auto detail and there's a huge dent on the hood. I'm like, did anybody show you that giant dent on your hood? Nope. Well, it's glaring. It is a large problem right here. And I'm sorry it hasn't been highlighted for you, but that is going to create a domino effect all the way down to your lower back. So it's like, Ed, I came in for lower back and hip issues. Well, it begins with the upper neck. And this is where B.J. Palmer, the first chiropractor's son, who basically opened up all the schools, and he opened up the original school, and then all chiropractic came from B.J. We called him the kind of fountainhead. We call it everybody, Sherman, New York, Parker, Life. Everybody was a student of B.J. in like the 20s and 30s, and then opened up their own versions of chiropractic. But it all comes from B.J. And B.J. taught to work on the atlas, to work on the upper cervical. And almost to like an exclusive degree. Like he just worked up here. Now I don't 100% agree with that. I think we need to work on the whole spine, but I get what BJ was getting at, which was that if this is crooked, we're in big trouble. Now the first fallacy, and just enough research hadn't been done, he thought that you could change the position of a bone through an adjustment permanently, that you could change what they call a subluxation, but basically that if the neck curve isn't in your neck, they thought they could. Does that make sense?
Right.
Push the curve back into somebody's neck. Sorry, it's not true. I wish it were true. The reality is that adjustment is a tool to make the spine limber so that stretching can change it. And that stretching we'll show you at the end of the visit. We use these different orthotics to mold. It's not that hard of a concept. It was stretching that made us lose the curve. It was looking down for 8 hours a day that pulled the curve out of our neck. And so it's stretching that restores it.
Right.
It was stretching that got rid of it. See how it's smooth, the whole? It's like the one side of your car is smooth, you understand? And the other side's got these large dents and dings, and it's, what'll happen is you're gonna pinch the left lower neck because you're in right avoidance. Because this old injury on the right is causing your head to go left. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so the left lower part of your neck is gonna wear out. And so, yeah, I'm almost gonna leave this alone over here. We're going back to the right here.
Even with foam rollers and different rollers, and it's just, you can't get them on your own.
Yeah, no, there's a mark coming out already right here. This is, just trying to highlight for everybody to see. Right there. Has kind of a graininess to it. So yeah, this is your neck. We call the cervical lordosis, and so it's just making the spine supple and then aiming your spine back to being curved. It's smoothing out pretty well though. Wow, I mean, it's definitely changed quite a bit there. All right, I'm gonna get one more try on this side, babe. There we go. I'm just gonna go a little deeper, see if I can get a little more. All right, I think we got it all. Yes. A little bit more of that top guy.
Still one in there.
Yeah, I don't think. What I feel in a second, it's not. I think we're dealing with what we call functional scoliosis or functional laterality. Just you have pain and then you create a laterality because there's something hurting, but I don't think you have what, like I said, my spine, which is what we call structural scoliosis or structural laterality.
Right.
This is, Ed, I've injured a part of my back and now my body's tilting. Yeah, I would say this. See how this is a little bit lower right there, and then right there. This is what I was saying when we were standing. Your left middle.
Yeah, I can feel it when I foam roll a lot.
Right there. See that? This is actually what I call the source. This lock allows you to overstress this because you're in what we call left avoidance. This area is being tilted away from, and then your right lower part of your back is being overstressed, and that's why it hurts on the right. It's doing double, more than what it's spec rating, what it's meant to handle. And so the fix really is to move the stress, move the work back up to your middle back, away from the lower back, and then, hey, my lower back's feeling better, Ed.
Right.
And we seal it with that, Dentarol. We start with a roller, but we got to move to what we call a Dentarol to work that curve back in your back.
My right leg is more, it twists out more than my left.
Like the toes are pointed outwards?
Correct.
Yeah. We call that foot flare, and that's ultimately a piriformis contraction. And then we can go down the rabbit hole of trying to treat the piriformis, but what nerve controls the piriformis? Well, the sciatic nerve. And so when the lower back is inflamed, there's electrical signals to go to the piriformis that are causing it to contract, which causes that turnout that you're seeing. Working on the piriformis is a step in fixing it, but ultimately you have to get the pressure off the nerve that's causing the contraction. Does that make sense? So everybody gets a little too much caught up in trigger point therapy. And yes, muscles do need oxygen to relax as much as they need oxygen to contract. So sometimes a spasm muscle won't unspasm until you go in there and work on it. But that's only after the very thing that caused the contraction has been dealt with.
Right.
So the nerve irritation, and again, Ed, nobody's taken an MRI of my back to potentially show me a disc bulge. You understand? Something that's the root cause.
Right.
The disc bulge has to be reduced. That's what's causing the nerve irritation, causing the muscle to contract, causing the foot to flare, and then, let's stretch your piriformis. Like, oh, geez, oh, gosh. No. You can't stretch a muscle that's being tasered. If I shoot you with a taser gun, just try to relax.
Right.
Like, I can't. You're shooting me with a taser gun, which is causing all my muscles to contract. We have to stop the very thing that's causing the contraction, and then the muscles can go down that process of relaxing. You can relate to your muscles. It's hard to relate to a disc because you can't feel it. It's hard to relate to the ligaments in your spine, but and so too much emphasis and importance has been put on muscles because we have such a high feeling of them. And so everybody wants to try to correct things a little too much with, strengthen this muscle or stretch this muscle. And it's like, well, but that's all controlled by your nervous system. Wow. But yeah, this is where there's going to be a mark right here. That's where his hip pain is ultimately coming from, Carlin, is right here. He's being a good sport, but yeah. It's a common theme I'll have with teenage students is I ask them how many hours a day they sit, and it's something like 14, 15, 16 hours a day.
Right.
Is their average sitting, and I go, okay, there's your problem.
Yeah.
And so what What does that mean to sit for 14 hours a day? Well, it means that your chest is all stiff because you don't have to have mobility of your back sitting in a chair. And so if the chest is stiff, then the lymphatics aren't pumping.
Right.
The sewer pipes aren't flowing. And so now you have all this, waste accumulating in the lungs.
Yeah, a lot of times I have problems getting especially for overhead pressing, getting my shoulders up.
Yeah, it's all these ribs got to go down in order for you to bring your arms up. I'll have to go downwards.
How long have you all been in this office?
Gosh, I've been here since '07, so 15 years here.
Yeah.
My dad's been in this building since the mid-'90s.
Oh, really? So you guys are from this side, then?
I've been here since I was like 4 years old in
Yeah.
Sarasota, so. I mean, real quick right there, Carl. See, that's where the blockage is right there. Think of it like a conversation. We can't just ignore our middle back, the part that never has surgery, the part that never gets injured. We have to converse with it, have a conversation with it. As much as it might be temporarily, feel better to just leave it alone, let it lock up, and then eventually this starts to sprain out.
Right.
But we start with a roller. That's a good starting point, but we have to move up to what we call the dental, the lumbar dental is what we're going to show you in a minute.
Okay.
And mastering that does two things. This area has to be limber to even get into the dental, and then the curve in your back has to want to be there for it to be easy. And so it's about mobility, getting it moving, and then the alignment, making that stretch happen.
Have you always in your practice, have you always gone to this level, or you just kind of over time?
No, my dad taught us. We've been taught to do this since before we went to chiropractic college.
Right.
And then that's sort of just an amalgamation of what my dad's found to work. We call it a practice, right? Every medical practice is a chiropractic practice. The idea is that you trial and error, right?
Right.
You try things, you get rid of the stuff that didn't work, and you keep the stuff that worked, right? And so hopefully over time as a chiropractor, you grow and you just have a distillation of all the stuff that worked, right? The stuff that didn't work has been removed. Where's your lasers, Ed? Where's your electrical pads? They didn't work. I didn't find them to work. Maybe they work for somebody, but in my office, I haven't found them to be beneficial. And so I'm not saying that they can't be used for symptomatic care. If that's your goal, is just to symptomatically give relief, there's some use for it, but I'm trying to correct things. And all this crunchiness right here. Ooh, right there. That shouldn't be all. By the scapula. These are all the roots of the neck, so the roots all come down here and attach into the shoulder. And the more forward the head goes, you see how these roots start to lift up, right? So the tree leans forward and the roots come up out of the ground, and so everybody might, let's try to keep pushing these roots down. It's like, well, that's only because the head's forward, right? So, well, you're pushing the roots down, Ed. Yeah, because I'm trying to get these roots to come down so we can stretch his head back. Ultimately, it's about the stretch that we end the visit with. That's what's going to correct this, not me adjusting you and massaging you. Does that make sense? Even though I spend a lot of time doing this, the work is all prep. We have to wash the car, clay bar the car so I can get the polish out. You can't just polish a dirty car. There's a process to getting to the polish, and the stretching is that to me. It's where we're trying to get to.
So that, where he was pointing, is that his low back joint, or was
He was
it
pointing to his facets, yeah, the lower back facets. We call the zygapophyseal joints, or the Z joints, the facet joints in the lower back. They give you a kind of, that's why you can put his finger on it so easily. He's like, it's right here, Ed. Those are the joints that are hurting. He's just, when you ask a joint to do twice of what it's supposed to do, it's going to hurt. So it's not really that joint's problem, right? It's whoever's not working that's making that joint do extra work. That's the true problem. The effect is that certain joints are now being overstressed and they're complaining. It's like, well, kind of rightfully so. That's not really the problem. So it's above and below. This is where this is the joint that pretty much, yeah, there's an injury right there. Wow, do you see that? Whoa. Right, do you, there's like a little bit of a crunch in here. Right on the joint here. When I had you on your side.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, there's an injury right in there. This joint didn't want to move. And what would happen is if I go any harder, right, my goal when you were on your side was to move what we call the sacroiliac joint, this joint right here.
Right.
This joint is hypermobile. That's why it hurts. I was trying to move this joint, and what I was feeling was this guy was moving when I didn't want him to move, right? So this is where an overzealous chiropractor can actually hurt people, right? You see what I'm trying to say?
Right.
I'm trying to adjust this, but this guy's moving, and I just end up hurt you.
Right.
So, you know, the feeling might be as the patient, Ed, I think if you went harder, you might get this joint to move. And that might be true, but only at the expense of hurting this more.
Right.
Right? So at that point, it's not worth it. You have to back up chiropractor and loosen this joint so that you can get it to move independently. The patient just told me right at the beginning, I got pain here, injured joint. I'm not allowed, this is the problem, is the area above and below.
Right.
So my job is to loosen up the joint below. It's not moving. This right SI joint gave me nothing when I put him on his side. You have your hand right on his butt. Correct, that's where the SI joint is. SI joint's right there. That's the top of the joint. It's got some fluid in it. That's why I can feel is like crunchiness. And you've injured this, who knows. And this joint's tried to quit on you. And that's part of the problem. That's why the foot's turning out. This is where piriformis attaches on the side of the sacrum here.
Yeah, I can feel it in my toe.
See, the problem is when you're trying to stretch this, you end up compressing this more.
I got you.
Well, by bringing your leg up, you're compressing that disc in your lower back more. Yes, you're stretching your piriformis, but you're inflaming your lower back more. And it's like, did we really net anything?
Right.
No, I'm pretty sure we got a net loss there. But symptomatically, it felt better for an hour, and then it just came back, and now I feel more frustrated, and it's very, kind of self-deprecating, self-defeating there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is, both joints are responsible. One's just a little bit more, but this guy at least works over here.
Yeah, my left quad has actually grown larger than my right one because of the shift when I go on my squats.
And some of that might actually be atrophy of the right. So the left's just normal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then the right's just not getting the nerve because of this inflammation here. You're
Right.
actually not getting a proper electrical signal to the right leg. There you go. Nice. All right. That's the blue area.
Oh, yeah.
And then some of that injury in the middle back there.
Yep.
All right, you have your knee back for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just, you can definitely tell this is more, not as solid.
Yeah.
Your left quad is like a piece of granite. You know, this is strong over here.
Yeah.
Right there is all power. And then this is all electrical to me. This is the signals in your lower back. This would be more the femoral nerve, so this isn't the sciatic nerve, but this is another nerve goes to your quad, but the nerve's, you know, electrical signal from the lower back to your leg is impaired, and I just don't feel like I can get a full contraction on that muscle.
Right. How this one is.
The muscle's
here.
just larger. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can see
Oh,
that.
yeah.
You can see it.
Oh, yeah, wow. And so you think that's from tasting?
This is the nerve. This is the nerve not getting. This isn't just disuse atrophy. This is,
Yeah.
and I use my body evenly, but this one's not
Right.
as strong. It's because the electrical wires that come. So this area that has pain, these are the nerves that go down your leg.
Right.
So the signal, it's like the millivolts, or the amount of electrical juice that you're getting, it's not allowing the muscle fibers to contract at the same level. And so there's a weakness of, you know, more of a paralysis that's happening in the leg.
Right.
That has to be, this again, without an MRI, we're all flying blind here. This is where an MRI would give you the, look, you have disc injury. The only thing that really causes that isn't joint inflammation. That's disc injury hitting a nerve root, causing a signal degradation. X-ray, you're missing it.
Right.
And you're seeing some postural distortions, but the postural distortions are the result of disc injury. There we go. Good. A little bit. Oh, very nice. And then you're gonna press back with your elbow a little bit into my elbow. Push back a little bit right there. There we go. Good. Go. Okay, press back a little bit. There we go. Wow.
That would whip.
Go ahead and tilt your head left for me a little bit. There we go. All right, go ahead and tilt left. A little bit. Okay. I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
There we go. Go ahead and tilt. All right. There we go. Good. Okay.
No, I heard
Do you-
that one a lot.
Is there more drain? You have more issues on the right side. You notice on your sinuses. Hard to say.
To be honest with you, it's hard to say because for most time I just.
Do you know which ear is ringing? Is both ears, or is it the,
It's always
or
the right. Yeah.
That's that lump on that right side of your neck. It's not a coincidence that
Right.
there's a bone sticking out on the right side of your neck,
Yeah.
and it's this ear. It's the same channel,
Right.
and so we're going to address that in a second when we're stretching. So when I look at your hands here, you understand?
Yeah.
This
I
hand
can
is.
feel it.
This hand's about another at least an inch. You know, it's higher. You can see that, Ron?
I have a lot of problems with activation right here. You can see there's more development here than there is here.
Long term, having your shoulders being able to stretch back evenly maintains the health of the labrum, which is the glenohumeral joint where the humerus comes up to the glenoid fossa. The more forward your shoulder goes, you start to pivot the humerus on a thinner part of cartilage called the labrum. And so we want that to be even so that we're not wearing out our shoulder joint. And then the ability to tear your rotator cuff is higher when the shoulder's forward. But yeah, right there, it has a nice contraction there. It needs to be. I shouldn't have said anything about my shoulders. So like a clock, when we're stretching, we're gonna, you're gonna work this angle.
Right.
All these angles have to be mastered. See how much softer? I mean, gee whiz. There's a nice lump right there on that right side that needs to be. Go, stretched out. And yeah, it's a lot softer over here. Part of that can be just, you might be right-handed, you use the right side more,
yeah.
but also we need to be aware that we need to stretch out the side that we're more dominant on because it just needs, because we, like my wife comes home from Whole Foods and I try to pick up 8 bags of groceries with my right arm,
Right.
Maybe I should do it in my left arm. There you go. All right. Now, unlike the roller that you've been on something like this,
Yeah, I've got a few of them.
the contact is too broad, and I can tell you've been stretching because you're ready for this.
Yeah.
The contact is too broad to really get a pinpoint stretch. Does that make sense? In one area.
Right.
The idea is that this emulates my elbow. That you use this as a tool to copy this, so you don't need to come in so much, and that it ultimately becomes your chiropractor, and you can use this to target the areas that you want to loosen.
Right.
So there's a tapered edge which prevents mobility where we don't want it, which is where you're injured, and we're trying to force it to fold in an area higher where it's stiff,
Gotcha.
and then mold that arch back into your back. And so there's going to be a very difficult point, usually around 15 minutes, when that ligament starts to what we call creep or lengthen. Around 15-20 minutes is where posture change, the magic occurs. If
I
you
can
took
feel it huge. It almost feels like I'm like this and this.
you're crooked, yeah, one side's higher.
Yeah.
And that will auto level as you just lay on it. Does that make sense? You don't,
Right.
as it's like a dough roller. The higher part of the dough will get more pressure, and then the dough will ultimately level out. But that's part of what we need to work on. So put the feet together, knees together, very gently or slowly. Rotate your knees left. There we go. Breathe. Exhale. Good. Good. First goal, 20 minutes. Then we can start making it taller. But first try to get 20 minutes, and we have to, big guy like you, got to master this guy. And then take your hand, leg straight for this one. Take your hand and you press it under your forehead. Get your head to sink into it. You'd actually be on the medium.
And always keep this.
For the most part, eventually your head's just going to be level. But for the first month, I would do a little bit of right tilt.
I mean, this itself, as far as don't ever
Have it in your lower neck, right? Always upper neck.
or out of. Keep it parallel with.
Correct.
Straight?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it'll be perpendicular. I mean, it's always, the spine's up and down, but
Perpendicular,
it's going perpendicular to your spine. You don't force the body to undo something. When there's no reason for it to happen, it goes away.
Right.
That it goes away by the pressure being removed, and then the body goes. It's like if I get that, like the simplest is if I hurt my right ankle, I shift,
Yeah.
right? When my right ankle no longer hurts, okay, I don't have to avoid it, right? The avoidance is just a result. A lot of practitioners want to force it back onto the injured area. Well, that might just injure it more, right?
Right.
Why are you trying to directly undo what the body's trying to compensate? Heal the injury, take the stress off, the injury heals, the body will level it out on its own. You don't need to force it. Support for your back, getting your body into the right alignment. Not to say injury is impossible, but it's going to be a lot harder, to hurt your back with your middle back limber. Your middle back is real rigid. You're going to sprain this out, and there's not going to be any ability to that to be resolved ultimately unless we get that curve back. And yes, you're going to need a car mechanic to, because as much, you might notice, Ed, after a few weeks, I couldn't even do the Denerol as easy as I could after the adjustment. It
Right.
starts getting too stiff, and I am unable to keep it loose on my own. I need somebody to help assist me. I mean, I was pretty much sitting on you with that roller.
Yeah.
I'm 185 pounds. I was pushing as hard as I could on you.
Right.
And there's more in there. Just like your neck gave a little more, there's still more in there. A couple adjustments, I could get that a little better, but
Right.
the idea is this.
Yeah. Mine doesn't.
Yeah. See, it's limber. Do you
Yeah.
understand? Your back has a level of this to it. Do you understand? It ain't moving. You understand?
Right.
It's supposed to be soft. So if this is moving, it's hard to isolate this, right?
Understood.
It's hard to rip this up if this is working in conjunction. But if you lock this, now when I'm bending, this is over torqued.